Hey guys, Jeremy here at My Way MFG. Back over in the garage today. Started working on the car a little bit more. My uncle had brought over this grab bar that he'd bought that was not the length he wanted, so he had me cut it and took 3 inches out of it, welded it back together, sleeved it with a 1/2-inch pipe nipple. Ought to be pretty strong, I would think. This stuff's kind of thin-walled. I expected it to be thicker. But even if the weld did crack, that pipe nipple's still in there, so it's not gonna land you on your butt, you know, if you're relying on it. But I think it'll be fine. I started remaking these braces that come up and hold the trunk floor there in the middle. I thought, you know, rather than reuse these are pretty easy to make. So I've got one done here, and I just drilled an 1/8-inch hole there and then took it out with a step bit until I got a 3/8 hole. Somehow or another, it seems to me that step bits work better than just regular drill bits. They almost seem faster. Do you guys think? I mean, I like step bits. Just get a little pilot hole started and man, the step bit will eat right through it. Whereas sometimes a regular bit won't, you know. Anyway, I'm gonna get those bolted back on there and continue on here. Still haven't got my sheet metal yet. This is Monday morning. I'm hoping before the weekends I have it and we can kind of start putting these pieces back in the trunk, you know. This is where we left off. The POR 15's all dried up and looks good. These pieces, there's a hole right there. Those will get a piece of rubber under them and bolt right back down in there on each side. So after a while, I'm gonna look for some rubber for that. And I got a bag of 3/8 bolts I can use, nuts, washers, all of that. And I think as soon as those are on, I'll get a little coating on them and then do the back side of that, the underneath part, maybe get that big piece in, even if I don't have the piece for down there, you know. I realized in the last video, I never mentioned about that 48 Ford that I said I could almost get for nothing, you know. I went out and looked at that. What I really wanted to do, it's in terrible shape. The front clip's all missing and the hood's missing and the front fenders are there, but like everything else is gone. That bottom roll pan's rusted out. But I thought it would be cool to cut the top off of it and try to kind of mock up a convertible out of it just for something to do, you know. But I really don't like the 48 Fords all that well. And this is a 4-door sedan. So if I was going to make a convertible out of it, I'd have still been a 4-door. I'd have wanted to have done something about that. And then as I looked at the car, it had all the usual rust repair we would have had to do, like what we're doing here with Eliza. Gosh, by the time you've done all that work, and if you really don't want that car to start with, it just wasn't worth it to me. So one of the subscribers that watches this show, he lives nearby. I think he wanted some parts off of it. It was Brian's car, my friend Brian. I just told Brian, sell some parts to him and then whatever, you know, but I don't want it. If I was going to take on a project like that, I'd just soon it be something I liked better. You know what I'm saying? The car, it's repairable, yet it ain't. It depends on how bad you want it, you know. The outside of the body don't look too bad, but it's going to have all of this floor issue, rust in the bottoms of the doors and fenders. And I guess if a guy really wanted it, it could be done, but I don't want it that bad. Probably be better left as a parts car, to tell you the truth. But anyway, that's the deal with that. So I'm going to get back on this. Got our little 1/8-inch pilot hole right there. New step bit. You know, battery's getting dead in the drill, so I was having so much trouble, but no trouble at all, really. I got the bottom sides of those coated where they bolt to the frame. I'm going to let those dry up there. I also did around the edges of this where it goes above the frame rails and that leaf spring cross member, just the places it'd be hard to get to later. Then after I get out of the car, I'll do the rest of it. But what I had there, that's not the POR 15. That's this Rust-Oleum Rust Performer. Instantly converts rust to a protected paintable surface. I doubt if that's the same as the POR 15. It's likely not nearly as good, but I get under there, I'll get in there with a brush the best I can, but this will get the places that I just can't get to. And at least I got something on there, you know, and it's black. So we just use that. I think that'll be fine. And then I also took and done below where the floor sets and just sprayed on these inner fender skirts that hang down. Once again, I'll reach up there and try to coat that the best I can with the other stuff, but that'll get all the places we're just not reaching. Seal it up nice, you know. I'm gonna try to get these brackets down here on the trunk floor. I found some vinyl. It's like ribbed. I think it was a molding for the side of a car. New stuff, had like 3M tape on it. If I stack up 2 of those, it's the thickness of the old rubber was, so I think that would be good. Got some new 3/8 bolts here with some lock washers. Get this bolted on here and see if we can get them into shape. I was doing a little research, I think it was yesterday, on the POR 15. That's a product I haven't ever used before. I've used fiberglass a lot over the years to fix rust repairs. It works really well. And the POR 15 is a strange material if you've never worked with it before. It's almost like it reminds you of diesel or kerosene. It's got the qualities of like a penetrating oil. When it gets on the metal, you can almost see it spread out and soak in, you know. They've done all kinds of tests on that stuff, and after it's bonded to the metal, it stays there, and it dries like an epoxy. It's probably the best treatment you could do for rust, from what I understand, and what I've read about it. And I thought, boy, you know, it'd be a good thing if a guy could just coat everything with the POR 15, scuff it up, and then do your fiberglass and finish bodywork on top of that. That's what I had in my head. I thought, boy, that would be a really good repair, because the fiberglass in itself works good. About the only time it would ever get bad on you would be if it rusted out around it. Well, if you had that on first and then done your fiberglass, that wouldn't happen. But anyway, as I was reading, they're not compatible. You cannot put fiberglass over POR 15. it won't stick, it'll come off. That's too bad. I wish it wouldn't. So like all these little pinholes I've got here, they're tiny. I was just gonna fiberglass them and then put the POR 15 over it. I don't know if I'm gonna do that now. One guy done his vinyl roof. He put POR 15 on it, then he put fiberglass over it. He said the whole fiberglass thing, matting and all, just peeled off. He said the POR 15 almost worked like a release agent. And he had a perfect mold of his roof in his hand, you know. So he contacted the company and asked them what to do. And what they told him, if it's a small pinhole or a small hole, use the fiberglass matting, the mesh, dip it in the POR 15. Don't use any resin, use that for your repair. And then after you get it stuck on there, coat it again with your brush. And when that stuff sets, it's like an epoxy and there's no need for the fiberglass on there at all. I could see being able to do that on a small repair. That's probably what I'll try to do here. These little pinholes. Or maybe I'll just try to weld them at this point. I don't know. I only see 3 there. Kind of a big one there and a little one. Down in here's the worst. I got 2 options there. I can either do that, soak the mesh in the POR 15 and put on there, or I can do a little fiberglass patch on the bare metal. So the fiberglass is stuck to the metal, and then if I coat over it with the POR 15 and it peels off the fiberglass, I don't care because it doesn't need to be there anyway. I could just touch it back up with a little satin black paint or something so it looks right. As long as you've got the fiberglass stuck to the metal and not the POR 15, you would be all right. And then if you do have the POR 15 over the top of the fiberglass and it comes off, doesn't need to be there anyway. But anyway, that's what I'm finding out about that stuff. And I'm glad I did get on the internet and read about that because that's something I wouldn't have known. But anyway, let me find a smaller straight edge here and we'll see if we can get these set into place. Okay, I found a piece of angle iron that was working good for a straight edge. I'm up against the floor here where I'm starting. Setting on that pretty good. I'm setting here pretty good. So, look at the other side. This could be bent up just a little, but I'll get a pipe wrench on that and tweak it a little bit. Right now I'm going to spray some of that black Rust-Oleum primer on the tops of these. Start getting ready to fit this trunk floor. That's my biggest hole right there. This one here would be underneath the trunk floor. But yeah, I might just get a little fiberglass matting on them. This isn't the POR 15 here. This is that black Rust-Oleum primer. I should be able to scuff that up maybe and get fiberglass to stick to that. We'll see what happens here. I'm not worried about that skirting underneath the floor anyway. As long as I can get it to where the rust isn't spreading, those holes don't really affect anything, you know. All right, guys, I've gotten to the point I don't think there's anything holding me up here. I'm gonna try to get this big panel in. I've drilled 2 holes on each side for plug welds. It's gonna get welded down to those feet that you just seen me put in there. I think I can weld all that pretty good. So I'm just gonna get started here welding this and then show you guys here in a bit what I've got done, I think. And then the top section will be in pretty good shape. For all the guys that's interested in it, the gas I'm using is a 75 argon, 25 carbon dioxide mix. This wire, the roll is in where the writing is. The writing is on the other side of the roll, so I can't read it. I seem to remember it being 25, and I pulled the tip off the welder, and it seemed to say 25 on it. So I'm going to say that's 25 on the wire size. I've got this back side just about all welded. I've got this side done, in this corner where it drops down. I was able to just take a hammer and hit it down and then push it down and weld it. I had like a thin area right in here somewhere I was burning through a little bit. But one thing about this car, if you run into a place like that, if you keep chasing it back about 1/8 of an inch, you're going to get it. The metal don't thin out for very far. So I got that all done. Got this tacked back in place. I'm going to try to slit this, fold it down, and just weld it solid right across the back. Right now it's up about 1/4 of an inch, but I think I can split it here and get it down. This side here I'm done up to here, and then I got a tack here, and then this corner still needs pushed down. Got a plug weld done there, and I got one done there, and then I've got stitches all the way across the back. I had that piece of pink foam board in there separating the car from the trunk. I just folded it up. It's easier to weld that from the inside of the cabin of the car. I got a ton more welding to do back there, but we'll get to that after a bit. And then I just want to get some stitch welds, you know, 4 or 5 of them along each fender. And like I say, if I have to, I'll lay the round rod in there, weld the round rod to the floor, and then the fender, and then seam seal both sides. That back area right there, that might get seam sealer too. Either fiberglass or seam sealer, haven't decided yet. This area here, I've ground the welds off. I know I'm welding right on the edge of that, so I got good weld all along the edge, so I'm just kind of grinding the top off, and then I'll roll the fiberglass over and make that all look like one piece when it's done. So this will get fiberglass, and all these patches will get fiberglass. Seam sealer there, back there I'm not sure yet. And then we'll have a little bit of fiberglass up here on the fenders where these few pinholes are, I'm thinking. Unless the seam sealer covers it, which in places it might. But anyway, that's how that's looking. I'm happy with it. It's looking good enough to suit me. And I was on it. I crawled up in there. I got this back welded, and then I crawled up in there, and with my weight on it, I done the plug welds. And then I started doing those, and then I realized I'm better off to go back from the other side, so that's what I did. If you're trying to do real pretty welds to show your friends and show off your welding abilities, an old rusty car body's not a good place to do that. The only way you can get these things done is small tack welds, and then overlap your tack welds. If you try to run a continuous bead, for one thing, you're going to warp it because it's too thin to do that. The other thing is you're just going to burn through if it's an old car. So the thing to do, lay on a bead, just one little bead of weld, overlap it, make another bead, wait till the red goes away and it cools off, and just keep doing that and do another one. Do about 4 or 5 of them, then move to a different spot. Let that cool off, do 4 or 5 over here, move back, do 4 or 5 over there. And if you're in a flat panel, like out in the middle of a door or something, it doesn't even hurt to take an air hose and cool it off every couple spots. Cool it off until you can lay your hand on it and touch it, and then do a couple more. Just keep skipping around. On this car, the metal on it's thick enough that if you burn through, if you just keep chasing your hole back, after you get about 1/8 of an inch back, it'll usually fill in for you. I would think maybe some of the newer cars you might work on that don't have metal quite this thick, you wouldn't be able to do that. In which case you could take like a wire coat hanger and hold down there and weld that and just keep chasing the hole until you get it. But yeah, this is all welding up really nice. I I can see that it's burning in good and it's going to be solid and strong, and that's what I care about. And I'll get it looking good in the end, I think. So anyway, I'm going to hang around here, smoke this cigarette, make sure nothing's on fire, probably get out of here for today, and then maybe get back in here tomorrow afternoon or sometime and see if I can finish getting this big panel in. Saturday morning, guys. Had kind of a hectic week this week at work. Didn't get a whole lot done. I'm going to go ahead and put this video out because as I stand here Saturday morning, I still don't have any 18 gauge sheet metal. We got a hold of the guy I got it from last time, I think Sunday. Or no, it was Friday of last week. He was going to check on getting us some. Contacted him again on Wednesday. Never have heard back from him. So the 18 gauge I've been using is real good thick metal, and I'd like to continue with it until I get the trunk floor done. And then if I had a little bit left over for the running board repairs, that would be good. After which, the rest of it, I don't mind using the 20 gauge on, like the door repairs and what little patches I might have to do on the fenders and stuff. But just until I get through this trunk floor, I'd really like to keep using the 18 gauge because it's just a lot heavier and thicker. And that is a floor, you know, and I like using that for the floors. Plus it ties in that whole back panel. So I got to come up with some more of that. But until I do, yeah, it's going to hold me up. And I've called around all the places in Galesburg. This 18 gauge sheet metal is like searching for dinosaur eggs. Nobody has any. Somebody does, I just don't know who. But anyway, I will get some next week somewhere, even if I got to drive to Peoria, you know. But I think that's going to do it for this video. The top part of the trunk floor is in. That all laid in there and turned out really nice. I'm happy with that. And I suspect the rest of it's going to go well too. I hope. So anyway, maybe we'll find out on the next video. We'll catch you later, guys. Jeremy. Hey, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment, share, all those things. Later.